Hebrew headstones provide arguably Jewish genealogy's most important advantage, patronymic names. This video will help you find this valuable information whether you can read Hebrew or not. We can't start looking at Hebrew headstones until we understand what patronymic naming is. Think back to your early days in school when you learned about the Viking explorer Eric the Red. Eric had a son named Leif, who we know better as Leif Erikson, or Leif son of Eric. Then Leif had a son named Thorkel, who was known as Thorkel Leifson, son of Leif. Erikson and Leifson are patronymic names, children named after their father. These are not family names or surnames. You can see what an incredible advantage it is for genealogists to be able to link generations from one to the next to the next. To this day, Hebrew also uses patronymic naming. Consider that a Hebrew name can have 4 parts. From right to left, they are a given name, then a designation as to whether the person is a son or a daughter, of part 3, the father's name. Finally, we have a special designation for those who are a member of the priestly tribe of Levi, or more specifically, for those who are descendants of Aaron, the first high priest. So for Aaron, Moses' brother, his name in Hebrew, transliterated English, would be Aharon ben Amram HaKohen, or from left to right, Aharon ben Amram HaKohen. Let's use the headstone for Theodore Cohen as an example. The first thing we notice is the large symbol at the top of the stone. This is a representation of the high priest's hands that bless the congregation. Please take a look at our earlier video, 7 popular symbols on Jewish headstones. In addition to the symbol, we can see at the end of the name the designation HaKohen, the Cohen. Also at the top of this stone, we see the letters Pei and Nun. These are abbreviations for the Hebrew Po Nikbar, or here lies. And now for the most important part, the name. Look for these letters somewhere on the stone. Ber or Ben, meaning son of, or Bat, meaning daughter of. Once you find one of these, the deceased's given name will be to the right of that designation, and the father's name will be to the left. In this case, we found Ber, and the name to the right is Tuvia, while the name to the left is Shrega Fivish. Putting it all together, the Hebrew patronymic name of the deceased is Tuvia ber Shrega Fivish HaKohen. If you can't read Hebrew, stay tuned and I'll show you how we can help. The next step would be to figure out the date of death. Hebrew doesn't have numerals. Instead, letters are used to represent numbers. Aleph would be 1, Bet would be 2, Gimel 3, and so on up till Yud, or 10. If you want 11, you do some math. 10 plus 1, or Yud Aleph. 12 would be 10 plus 2, or Yud Bet, etc. This works out well until you get to 15 and 16. 15 and 16 would be Yud He and Yud Vav. However, since the name of God is represented by the letters Yud He Vav He, we don't want those combinations on a headstone. Therefore, with a little creative math, 15 is represented not as 10 plus 5, but 9 plus 6, Tet Vav, and 16 is 9 plus 7, Tet Zayin. And then we return to adding 10 plus 8 and so forth. Here are the Hebrew months of the year. The Hebrew calendar is a modified lunar calendar. Certain holidays, like the harvest festivals, must fall during the correct times of the year. Therefore, some years include an extra leap month, Adar 1. So if you want to try to figure out the Hebrew date, consider this a puzzle. Look at the Nun Pei, or the word Naftir, which means died, and that will be followed by the date, the month, and the year. You can follow along with this example to get the equivalent Gregorian calendar date. 2 caveats to keep in mind. The first, the Hebrew day starts at sundown, so unless the stone indicates AM or PM, and some actually do, the conversion from Hebrew to Gregorian can be off by a day. And second, since the Hebrew year starts on the 1st of Tishrei, usually somewhere around September or October, you may need to adjust the equivalent year by 1. Confusing? Well, now that you know what's behind the date, here's a simple way to do the conversion without any knowledge of Hebrew. Steve Morse has a Hebrew date conversion calculator where you can choose the matching Hebrew letters from drop-down menus and determine the Gregorian equivalent date. Steve also has a one-step Hebrew to English transliteration tool on his website, and I'll give you another option in a minute. Finally, you may see on the bottom of the stone the letters in Hebrew that are an abbreviation for the Hebrew phrase, "May his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life." Where can you find these patronymic names? Headstones are a prime source. If you don't know where a particular headstone is, there are a number of online databases that might help you. JewishGen's Jobard database is the only database designed specifically for Jewish genealogical research. With the Jobar database, you may find a photo and/or the Hebrew patronymic name. Other free online sites include Find a Grave and Billion Graves. If you're interested in finding out what some of the rest of the Hebrew on the stone means, Ron Doctor has compiled an excellent list of Hebrew phrases from a number of different sources. If you want to see how a Hebrew name would appear using Hebrew letters, there are a number of sites which are used for baby naming that will show you the name and tell you what the name means. Here is one that you might find helpful. And if you're looking for an easy date converter from Hebrew to English or vice versa, try this site. And finally, you should be familiar with JewishGen's ViewMate tool. This is a place where you can post headstone photos, short letters, or other source documents in one language and ask volunteers to help transliterate that information into English. As you can see, understanding Hebrew patronymic naming practices is an excellent way to link together generations. With all the difficulties we have with Jewish genealogical research, name changes, country and town name changes, missing or destroyed records, Hebrew patronymic naming is a practice we should all take advantage of. This has been another helpful video from the Jewish Genealogy Society of Long Island. Please visit our website at www.jgsli.org for more information on our monthly speakers, beginners workshops, and other projects and resources. And visit our Facebook page where you can take part in conversations with experienced researchers. Whether you're on Long Island or an out-of-towner, we'd love to hear from you. Good luck with your research.